Here we are. Welcome, warrior. Welcome to Lynn's Warriors. This is Friday. We have a lot to cover. Grab your lunch, grab your coffee, grab your snacks, grab whatever you're doing, and let's start talking. I wanted to get this in with a couple of headlines and take actions and things you need to know about because this week was action packed as Congress descended back upon Washington, D.C. So let's talk about everything. Please, let's have a roll call first. 5 by 5. I see Edie's already here. Thank you, Edie, for always reminding everybody because I forget to hit the, thumbs up, like button, and give us some love. Edie always is on top of that one. So thank you, Edie, for doing that. You truly are a warrior. Edie says 5 by 5. That's good enough for me. If Edie can hear, that's it. As everybody filters in, let's start with, so Congress came back to work this week after having a month of recess. Frankly, I know it's tradition. They do this. Everybody's entitled to a little, rest and relaxation. But come on now, we have an American crises going on. Many of them, plural, I'm saying. Top of our list at the Warriors is families, exploitation, trafficking, slavery of our children, and also what's going on. I have to speak about this now. Back to school means what's going on with the curriculums in the school district. So let's start with Lionel Nation says loud and clear, good enough. Papa, 5 by 5, good enough. Here we go. So Congress came back, and we had a week full of Epstein survivors on Wednesday, victims, survivors, advocates, lawyers testifying. The survivors in particular testified in front of Congress about release the files. Release the files. We need transparency. These are our stories. What is going on here? Nothing is being done. Okay, they did that. Thursday was a tremendous, in front of the Capitol, press conference. Much warranted because when, I'm sorry, AG Pam Bondi, I have things on my desk. It's really bad stuff. I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but I think you all heard this. I'm going to release it, this and that, and then flip-flops to, well, nothing to see here. So right now, that pushed this group of survivors, and rightfully so, in our Warriors' opinion, to what do they have left? People not believing them, people lying to them. Clearly, you can look, it'll be posted later. I did a hit with Nancy Grace. There's a minute missing from the Jeffrey Epstein right here in New York of the video outside his jail cell. And that turned into a lie because when these 33,000 pages were just released the other day, it was really no new information, according to everybody. It was approximately 3% new information, things heavily redacted. I say nothing should be redacted unless it is the name of something to do with a minor, right? I'm not a lawyer. That's what I think. But anyway, so nobody's learning anything new. So this group of women, again, advocates, lawyers, supporters, descended in Washington. I was not there because a couple of people asked me yesterday because I had the work at hand in New York that I had to attend to and could not skip a day and go to Washington. But we were well represented, the Warriors, we were there in spirit. But how dare the lies back and forth, just unbelievable. So where are we going with all of this right now? I say all of you out there, warriors, we must step up. We must empower these survivors. We must demand justice. We must keep talking about it because it's a real SH, fill in the blank show. I think you know what I mean. And we have to get to the bottom of this, which I fear we never really will, right? We never really will with what is it, 6 years now? Look, Pam Bondi was AG in Florida. She could have gone back. That 2008 Jeffrey Epstein case, she didn't do anything. She's not doing anything now. Why do we have to create theatrics in front of Congress? Kash Patel, FBI, Pam Bondi, AG, should just put the information out there. There is no reason, because I've been thinking about this so much. There is no reason one would not do this after promising to do it, unless somehow, some way, there's so much complicit action that, we're just not going to do anything and hopefully it'll go away. Well, it has snowballed, and we need more of the public to stand with all of our survivors or to keep talking about just demanding justice. So I'm very disappointed this is going on because This puts a real black cloud over everything. It just tells us there's no transparency. There's no, we care about people. This is the way I'm looking at it. This is my opinion. And let's just brush this aside. And these women and girls, remember many of them. And finally, because we always heard, now again, I didn't have proof, but always heard that there were minors involved in that whole Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell web. Now we had at the press conference a woman come forward who was 14 at the time. So at least this is getting confirmed. This is horrible. I'm saying at least this is getting confirmed. Anything with minors, criminal. And so we've got that now confirmation. Think of all the victims, women, never came forward. Could be in the thousands in this web. Another telling piece here was Ghislaine Maxwell. She was questioned. And then all of a sudden, she was released to this cushy compound. She's now in with the spa services where she can have a latte, where there are no prison walls, where she can go into town and get a library book. This has never been heard of. She was convicted as a sex trafficker. But then it also says to me, how come she's the only one in prison here? Well, cushy compound now, but why is she the only one held accountable? Where are all the other people in this web? You can only deduce one thing, that a lot of powerful people, blackmail, we're not going to open that can of worms. I don't know where this can go from here, except major fail, major disappointment, and major just really disregard for all of these brave women who have come forward to share their stories. And it's lifelong trauma, okay? Lifelong trauma. So that's also a burden on psychological, medical, one's livelihood. If you can't work, we work with plenty of survivors of sex trafficking that tell us sometimes things manifest themselves 10, 20 years later, and they're caught dead in their tracks. There's just so much mental health that goes with this. Very disappointed. So we're going to keep on this. But I have a feeling, and I don't like to be a Debbie Downer, but we're never going to get to the bottom of this. We need to accept that, and we need to figure out how to best help people who have exited the sex trade, have been caught in the sex trade. These are very vulnerable people. Can be men as well as women. I want to make sure I always point that out, because right now I'm told that boys, because remember, I always tell you the truth here on The Warriors, and boys are the ones in demand that nobody's talking about. 3 times more in demand right now, 12, 14-year-old boys than girls. Also bringing in much more money. I know it's disgusting. Got to talk about it, because if we don't know the information, we don't know what to look for, keep our eyes peeled for, share information with everybody. And would you know, I'd like to hear, I know there's a lag here in the chat, but if you saw what you thought a child was, it didn't seem right in your gut. You saw something in a public bathroom, at the airport, train station, playground. If you thought a child was getting trafficked or that child didn't belong with that adult, I'd like to know what you would do here. Anybody weigh in. I'll wait a minute because it lags a little bit. So thank you, Calypso. Thank you for what you do, Lynn. It is important, and most people we can't be afraid. I am telling you that this is an American crisis. This is a national security crisis. All of this trafficking. Remember, slavery is a much more descriptive word. The enslavement of people and children. The demand is for children. Keep that in mind. How can we allow our precious kids, our future adults, our future American leaders to be ensnared in all of this? It's mind-boggling. It goes beyond anybody with any kind of decent moral values. Common sense would allow. Why are we allowing this in America? So Calypso says, oh, I am a big mouth. We need big mouths. We need big mouths. Albert says, call the PD. Here's what you do, everybody. Right away, I really hope nobody ever needs a lot of these numbers. You really should keep them handy just in the event. Just in the event. But you should always immediately make a 911 report. Now, if you're in a place like New York City, a big city, forget Chicago, I won't even bring that up, LA. 911, they don't put this child perhaps being trafficked, child being exploited, 5-year-old walking the streets in New York selling candy, by themselves during a school day. They don't put this as a priority. They do not put this as a priority. Edie says, on a public bus, I verbally embarrassed the guy and got off where the young girl got off to make sure he wouldn't follow her. Okay, Edie, what's the follow-up to that? Did he go a separate way and she got home, or just give us a follow-up on that? Because you also have to be very careful. I'm not suggesting anybody should be a vigilante and be looking for this. But when I walk down the street and say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 abused, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 perhaps trafficked, and that's the way the thinking is. By the time you make 1 cup of coffee in your Keurig, right? 1 cup, 2 children have been trafficked. I'm trying to have analogies so everybody can realize the importance. I know you're here, so you do consider this urgent. Claudia says there is a Curtis Sliwa in all of us. There needs to be. There needs to be tough on crime. This is such organized crime. This is not just this mom and pop, this trafficking. Yeah, there may be a few actors, players, whatever you want to call them, pimps, traffickers, criminals on their own, but it has become an organized crime event. The biggest moneymaker, rivals the drug trade right now. Easier to ensnare our vulnerable kids or any people. We learned during COVID when single moms, single households couldn't pay their rent, how landlords took advantage and moved in and demanded sex from women, mothers, or their children. Vulnerable people do vulnerable things. I mean, it's horrible. So we have to stay on top of this and carry a can of pepper spray. Absolutely. Good. Edie followed. He did not get off with us. He would have, yeah. Okay, good. Good Warriors move, Edie. But here's the next thing. So now, back to Congress. We've got the Epstein story going nowhere, except we in society will stand up for victims, survivors, and we'll keep talking about it. Because this story is not going away. It is too big. It is too ugly. And we have very strong survivors right now speaking up and out. This is unacceptable. And we support them at the Warriors. The next thing is, okay, the White House, headlined by our First Lady Melania Trump, held Thursday an AI task force meeting. In that meeting, all the heads of tech, we understand. This is another disappointment that I'm expressing. We understand AI is here, artificial intelligence. We understand being on top of it, educating kids, parents, guardians, teachers about what's going on, right? Because it's here. It's not going away. So we got to get with the program. We got to figure out how to do everything safely, have some guardrails for the kids, understand the education piece for parents that are overwhelmed, right? Grandparents. Calypso, I'm so upset with this dinner. Very upset. Not sure what that means, but okay, Calypso. Now, so here's the thing. So the White House had a very nice welcoming, and it was every tech person you can imagine. You know, you had the Mark Zuckerberg from Meta, which is Facebook and Instagram, in the room, and WhatsApp. I want to throw in that's all Meta. Then you had the Sam Altman. You have the Google. You have Tim Cook, CEO of Apple. You have all these people that I also saw at the inauguration back in January, standing behind the president. And that was my first clue that this gang, this group, is going to have a big say in this administration. And indeed, they are. Then last night, the president and first lady, and I understand, they want to be one with all of the tech. And I understand. You keep your, I don't want to say enemies, but you keep them close so you know what's going on. You form relationships. We try to have discussions, conversations, tutorials. We try to learn from everybody, right? But here's the thing I was missing from all of this. That's well, good, and fine. Have all of that. But I did not hear one person say, when I heard Mark Zuckerberg speak, Tim Cook from Apple, not one of them added into, other than a lot of backslapping, nobody added into that. And we will figure out as a group of powerful people or chairmen or founders, whatever you want to call, AI task force, we will all figure out how to work to best serve the public. Yes, Bill Gates. And Bill Gates explained to our president, you know what? I blocked Bill Gates out because Bill Gates, every time I think of him, I don't know how I blocked him out, but thank you, Calypso, for bringing that forward. I get ill. You know, Bill Gates was such a part of that Epstein. To what extent, we don't exactly know, but he was there many times. His wife said, basically, she divorced him and said, hinted it was because of his relationship with Epstein after many years of their marriage and beautiful daughters. And he's just sitting there grinning ear to ear, at the White House, having a nice dinner with the president and first lady. I find it unacceptable. Unacceptable. We'll leave that for another um, program. Albert says, please don't have your kids rely on AI. It makes them dumber and less creative, knowing they have all the answers at their fingertips. And Calypso agrees. That is why I got upset and sitting next to our first lady. Me too. Me too. But our work at the Warriors continues. Transparency, demanding justice, demanding answers, how we can best help and bring these issues to the forefront. But again, I go back because I didn't hear any of these people mention not one of them. We're going to find guardrails. We learned, because the history of the internet is very poor, right? They haven't done a good job since 1996, when the internet was basically born, of helping protect kids. So we go on history, right? I mean, why should they? They have free reign. They have Section 230, allows them to be a billboard, a newsstand. They can't be held responsible. But we learned all of the horror. We also learned how the predators, the criminals, are always 10, 20 steps ahead of all of us and law enforcement. And how we know, so we know already, they will use artificial intelligence for detrimental reasons. Let me put it that way. So this should be part of this dinner and part of this AI task force in the last 2 days, right? It was Wednesday and Thursday. No, it was just Thursday. The task force meeting at the White House and then the dinner last night. We should know, how are we going to address this? At least for all those parents, the public out there, it should have been in some way discussed, even briefly, to let the public know we're on this, we're going to address it, because I'm seeing a lot of disappointed people. I'm seeing a lot of people who have worked so hard, and I am especially talking about parents who have lost their child to harms, TikTok challenges, porn on the iPhones, all this stuff that we talk about at the Warriors. And it's like a slap in the face. And that's what they're all writing to me. They're telling me, and they feel very discouraged. Why should they peacefully protest? Why should they be marching the halls of Congress with us and saying, do you know this is going on? What are we going to do about this bipartisan legislation, when our own government seems to be ignoring it? So stay tuned on this one. We are giving all the support we can to everybody, and we are going to figure out how to make everything work best. And that reminds me, beginning next week, there will be a lot of take actions for the Kids Online Safety Act, reintroducing that, getting that on the minds, because, after summer vacation, our Senate, our Congress people go wacky. They may have forgotten about the Kids Online Safety Act. I mean, it's only been around a couple of years, but we have to refresh them. We have to go to their offices. We have to see what they're working on, how we can tie that in. That is where I will call upon all of you warriors when I say, okay, take this, because it'll all be done for you. Add your name and zip code, because power in numbers. Power in numbers. I just want to go back before I forget. When we were talking about, do you know what you would do if you saw something you didn't like? Definitely the 911. I didn't finish that thought. You see how I jump around because there's so much to talk about. You should keep your local FBI office number handy. People don't realize there are a lot of local FBI offices across the United States. Because 911 could be busy, especially in our cities. And again, I hope you never have to use it. You keep it handy. You try 911. You immediately go to your local FBI office, okay? Because they will connect to the National Center on Missing and Exploited Children, okay? They'll do that right away. So you need to have these little pieces in place in case you need something. Again, we hope you never do. But then the National Center on Missing and Exploited Children in D.C., actually in Alexandria, Virginia, they have their number. But this is something if a child goes missing, 1-800-THE-LOST, right? You can see it all on our website, linswarriors.org. Keep these numbers handy. Also, if you see anything online, suspect anything, somebody approaches you, approaches your child, grandchild, cybertipline.org, again, on our Warriors website, linswarriors.org. Have these places, it's ease of mind. Most of you will never have to use any of this. But the number one thing I hear to this day, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do. So we have that going on. And the next thing I want to talk about is I did a great, I don't like that word interview, but I guess we'll use it on the Warriors channel right here with Megan Lundstrom, who recently took over. She is a survivor leader, and she took over the National Human Trafficking Hotline because it is the number 888-373-7888. Another number I will now be recommending you keep handy. It's on our website. I've always recommended it, but then I stopped because I was hearing different stories of people not answering the phones, of law enforcement telling me, Lynn, they get back to us 48 hours, 72 hours later. You have sometimes seconds, a minute to help somebody. But the hotline is supposed to connect you to local resources in your area. The hotline, I'm recommending you watch this interview because Megan is doing a terrific job. She knows as a survivor, she knows the problems with the hotline, which is part of the US government, okay? She knows, and now it's being run by survivor leaders. So they know what all of the facets that go into this and what people need when they call. And she also reconfirmed with us. So I want you to watch that because it's very positive. It gives us a lot of hope here at the Warriors. She also reinforces with us, you may just have questions and you can call and ask. For instance, I'll just make something up. I live in Ohio, and you give your neighborhood. Are there any places I should be volunteering, or something to that effect? You can call just to ask questions 24/7, 365, 200 languages, I believe, and they're answering the phone now. So we've got to get on top of all of this, but I'm highly recommending now the hotline. I feel so good because survivors, I am not a survivor or victim of human trafficking, sex trafficking, labor trafficking, forced servitude, none of it. Okay. I know with the work we do at the Warriors, we can't move forward or do anything without talking to a survivor, without learning from them. They have to be at the table every discussion. They are the most important thing. Why, after all, what right do I have to say, okay, I'm going to help end human trafficking if I'm not with the boots on the ground who've experienced it? Those brave people who do come forward, and they do it because they all tell me the same thing. They must. It is their therapy. They want to help others because most cannot come forward. They want to forget about it. They want it to go away. They're ruined mentally, physically. So the ones who do come forward, we want to work with. We have to work with. We have to let them be at the table and be those leaders to help us. So I'm very proud at the Warriors that we support survivors, any victims. I say victims because there are a lot of men and women or children still dealing with legal problems and court cases and different things like that. So that kind of goes victims with all of that. And then we have survivors, which we clearly saw with the press conference, Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein. It's hard for me to even say their names. So I'll just say Epstein Maxwell for now on, everybody. Claudia says lived experience is quite the evidence. I mean, that's what it's all about. And as far as the AI, let's touch upon the schools right now. So I am so distraught that don't think any of this gender ideology is going away, because it's not, because it was very quiet for a little bit. And I am seeing this simmer across our nation underneath everything. For instance, on the sensational side, we have now Victoria's Secret, known for women's lingerie for years now, right, everybody? They are now catering and having a trans model. Okay, more subliminal, pushing this into society. I just saw today, as a matter of fact, Young Sheldon, a TV show that a lot of kids would watch. It's been on for quite some time now. And Young Sheldon is now a teenager, but his cohort in the show this now young woman, I think she's 15 now. She finally came out, they said, and again, I'm paraphrasing a little bit, and it's a new word. Oh, gee, I should have written it down. I never heard of it before. It's like she's born a girl, but now she came out and she's saying non-binary masculine or something like this. And she's proud uh, to now share this with all the youth in America and across the world. I have to get that word. I'm sorry, I don't. I think it was masculine, non-binary something. It was something I just never heard, right? All these words, right? We have that. But the school systems, it's back to school time, everybody. And what do we have in my beautiful home state of New Jersey? K through 12 curriculums, which I was fortunate enough to be handed the actual content of what that would be. I saw this same content, not even this extensive, I want to say about 2021. Well, it's back plus some. Now, we're a family program at the Warriors, very sexual in nature. Starts with kindergarten, addressing. I think I mentioned the other day, there's a video of a kindergarten teacher telling kindergarten is what, 4, 5, 6, somewhere in there. You will address me as a they. If you don't call me a they, I will not answer you. I mean, these are babies, right? So going from that in kindergarten, and then we're going up 3 to 5th grade, different, again, we're a family program, different kinds of sex, things that should come from the parents or the guardians, right? When did we ever say we're co-parenting with sending our children to school? We never did. But here's the shocking thing. So I did put out, you can indeed opt out. Opt out. Your child does not have to be. You can claim for religious reasons, your parental autonomy. But then what do I wake up to? Yesterday, many people, I think my husband also, yes, he did, showed me this. New Jersey is making it impossible now for homeschooling. Okay? Homeschooling. Approximately in New Jersey right now, you have 100,000 plus kids in homeschooling. They are making it. They're putting out, there are 4 different bills addressing this in New Jersey right now. 2 are really tough. Things like, we're going to pop up and have a wellness check at your home. Okay. We will have, it's all kinds of strict things about making homeschooling impossible. Impossible. So we have to see where this goes, because here's what I can't figure out, Warriors. Everything we're trying to do good, whether it's empower children, help parents, stop sex and labor trafficking. Remember, there are a lot of kids across the United States that are labor trafficked. We don't talk about it a lot. Working in bars and in agriculture and lumber yards and meat packing plants and automotive. Nobody's talking about that at all. We have, especially, I have to remind everybody, all those kids who came unaccompanied over the border, and probably some that didn't come unaccompanied, are working. And nobody's talking about them. And nobody's talking about, we know, especially in rural areas, probably not so rural areas. I'm sure here in New York, New Jersey, where it's very densely populated, we have kids working in places they shouldn't be either. Nobody's talking about things that we want to help strengthen society, help especially our vulnerable kids. All kids are vulnerable, right? Think about when you were a kid. Think about, 7th, 8th grade, going through high school. Why is there such a fight to rip everybody down and destroy? It is a constant battlefield. It is the true meaning of warrior. I'm refreshed now I picked the word warrior out of the sky when I started the Warriors, because it is a battle every day. And your battle can be, you don't have to be marching on Washington even, or in your state capital, but you do have to be present. You do have to know the information. You do know what has to go on in your home and community. You have to know how to talk to your kids. They're seeing and hearing so much anyway. Let you be the leader. You're not shielding them from anything. New Jersey, they fight tooth and nail. But there is, a race coming up for governor. And it was very close last time. If anybody's familiar with New Jersey, it was something like three points off. But here's what I'm to say. I know this is going to sound a little crazy, everybody, but this is not even about politics, left, right, up, down. This is about, I know that sounds crazy, even the Epstein case. It is about, you know, helping everybody, right? It's about strengthening. It's about building. Things are tough enough on families. So that's where we need all of you to step in and do your piece, whether it's share this video, go back, Megan Lundstrom, the National Human Trafficking Hotline, share it. Have those numbers. Go to our website, linswarriors.org. Have those numbers handy. Keep them tucked away. Keep them on your phone, something like that. But I'm very upset because California now is coming up with things about homeschooling. It's always New York and California are kind of the test areas. New Jersey, I'm going to add New Jersey because New Jersey is my beautiful home state. Just really, so we have to hope. That's the other thing. We have to vote. I don't care what you think about elections, where you think it might go, what might happen behind the curtain. You got to get out and vote. We are fighting for our lives, I'd like to say, in New York City right now. Why should I, and don't tell me I should leave my city that, I've been here for decades. All these other people should leave because I'm from New Jersey. I've lived in New York. They should leave. When people say to me, oh, why just leave, during COVID, go to Florida, go to Texas. If I leave, then who's here left to fight for everything? So right now we have a battle on our hands playing out for mayor of our city. Yet this person running believes, Mandami, that sex work is okay. That it's okay. Kids can grow up and be a sex worker. They can be, we know the demand is for children. So we know if this is allowed, decriminalized, as we say, kids will be trafficked, sucked into all of this. When kids need to be enjoying their lives, at least a little bit, they've been born 30 and under in the digital bubble. Where's their childhood? The years they should be running around. We've got agendas for kindergartners when they should be coloring and painting and learning how to react, and play with other kids, right? All that play. And then what about our poor third to fifth graders having to hear about, again, we're a family show, things if they're going to hear about this or come across it, that's where you need to have the open channels with your child where you discuss it with them, not books shoved in their face with images and things they never even thought about, but of course they're going to question or look into. And then I want to warn you, it used to be we would go into think about high schools, the kids. We got to go all the way down to kindergarten now and teach about trafficking. Why isn't this human enslavement? Why isn't this mandatory in the schools? Because we do have youth mental health crisis. We do have, come on now, I'm going to get into it, the sextortion, the trafficking, the drug buying online. Like, where is the program for that? Can you imagine if we took all this gender ideology and we took that and we spent that time teaching kids how to keep themselves safe, how to report, not be afraid or embarrassed to report if somebody comes after them, a predator, know the steps, what they're to do. Nobody can touch you. Nobody can bully you. Nobody can, come to your home, all of this. Yet instead, we have at least 1 in 5 children, 9 to 17. And I'm sure that's changed because I've been using this stat now for 3 years. So obviously it has to change. So let's say 1 in 4 kids approached online, sexual in nature. And about half those kids, we used to say 42%. Again, that's old information. It's got to be about 50% now. It could be higher. Half those kids attempt to go out and meet that stranger in real time. I think we should be talking about that. And then I heard something. I just ask you, be on top of these things. Be on top. I want to make sure I didn't miss any. Where is the curricula? Yeah. Kids can't read. Kids can't write. Kids can't think. And they think taking the phones out of the classrooms, a nice start, for instance, for New York State. And we have about 28 other states doing this as well, back to school in 2025. But I said to my husband last night, I was listening to somebody at the White House. Let me think who it was. It was Google. And he was saying at this little table, round table, whatever you want to call that yesterday, Well, that's why, Mr. President, we provided public schools with Chromebooks. Yeah, it was Google. We know Chromebooks. I'll use New York as an example since I live here. Yes, the students were provided Chromebooks, but we learned during COVID, because the kids had them at home, that there were no guardrails ever. They were just given out free, open everything, open browsers, open all that. And we also knew predators were all over the Chromebooks issued to the public schools. And we also knew that porn, many cases of, for instance, mothers walking away while the child was doing their assignment during COVID. Everything's quiet. They're at their desk or table doing it. Mother walks away to the kitchen to wash a dish, comes back, the child's watching porn. So these Chromebooks, take the phones out all you want. What are we doing about Chromebooks that we're still using in the classrooms, right? It is a mess, and it's up to us. Um, Claudie said, I want to make sure I didn't miss anybody. I saw something. Somebody said, yeah, Victoria's Secret is no longer a secret. I actually thought they went out of business. That whole Les Wexner, remember the connection to Jeffrey Epstein and the L brands and all that? But apparently, and I heard a few years ago, they were going out of business. They weren't making money. Apparently, they're still here. Actually, there's a big Victoria's Secret on Fifth Avenue across from St. Patrick's. I always think, I don't want you to think I'm a prude, but they have these huge billboards across from the cathedral of, women lounging in their bras and underpants. And I'm thinking, it's kind of weird. You come out of St. Patrick's, you see these larger than life, because everything, the billboards now in New York are all those digital billboards. So not just a sign, huge. So you come out of the cathedral, say you're with your kids, and that's what you see. But that store, I always, when I'm passing by, lots of people going in and coming out. So I guess they're making money somewhere. Calypso says schools are paid for babysitting, nothing more. But we have to break that trend. We have to, our kids, it is so urgent. It is so important that we take care of them. Let me see what else. Okay, I'm going to leave you with this because I could go on and on and on, everybody, and I have to get to a meeting. You are to think about everything we talk about. Some way it fits into your life. Some way in 2025, right now, you must do something. And if you share this discussion, did everybody like this video? Come on now, it's free. Help a girl out. Help the warriors out. We want to get on that super highway. It's tough enough online. They don't like these subjects. They don't want us to talk about this stuff. We must get to our children. We must not get sidetracked with anything. Think about all our teens right now watching all this Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell stuff. Think about that. What are their little minds thinking, right? It's up to us to be that warrior. It is up to us to be aware as much as we can what they're doing. But again, it really starts with open and honest discussion. But what I want to say is, and see, here's another frightening thing. I saw yesterday there was this new company, this spyware. It can't be new because I always maintain when you hear about something, it's probably been around for 5 years. But this spyware, InfoSteal, and what it does, it invades the browser and steals screenshots. So say a kid, we'll say a 12-year-old boy, I don't know, he's online watching porn. I'm not suggesting that. But these kids are fed these dangerous algorithms, everybody. It's not even their fault. Things are just thrown at them left and right, which is why I'm so upset about this tremendous AI push. AI, K through 12 initiatives coming from the federal government, top down, yet never a mention of, at the same time, we will work on guardrails. We will make the commitment from all these big tech companies to help the schools, to help the parents, to help the kids stay safe. Nothing. That's why I'm upset. Not even the AI. I'm upset because this predation upon our children is not even addressed. And it is very disappointing. But anyway, let's get back to this spyware. InfoSteal. So if a boy is looking at something, or a girl, it steals screenshots, and then it comes back and sextorts that child. So don't think this hasn't been happening. We may just be hearing about it, but this is going to, I don't know, this runaway train. It's already a runaway train, which is why it's so important to follow the warriors, to be on top of things, talk to our kids. You might not have kids. You might have relatives who have kids. You might have a neighbor who has kids. Be on the alert. If you see something, say something, know the steps to keep everybody safe. I get so upset when somebody says to me, I saw something 10 years ago. I know it was trafficking. I didn't do anything. And as confirmed by Megan Lundstrom, now CEO, survivor leader of the National Human Trafficking Hotline, you don't get in trouble if you report something if you're wrong, because a lot of people say, I don't want to get involved. What if I'm wrong? Same goes for 911. You pass it along, okay? You're not getting in trouble. You're simply reporting something. So bear that in mind, warriors. We're up to the weekend. I have to get off to a meeting. I want to thank you for all of your donations. They go right into our education programs and supporting survivors. Thank you for volunteering. You will be hearing more about, if you're in the New York area, for September 19th. I would like you to write to me and I will fill you in, lynn@lynswarriors.org. We do need boots on the ground if you're in the New York area and can join us in person, but you need to write to me, lynn@lynswarriors.org. And also back to school. I don't care if your child's in kindergarten or college, start talking to those kids. Reassure them. Reassure them about everything. Why are we handing our kids over to the government? These teachers that are forced, because I know some really good teachers, they quit. They're not going along with these agendas. How sad is that? They quit because they won't teach this stuff. I don't blame them, right? You have every right, parental autonomy. I don't care, it's New Jersey. You go in there, you find out what is the curriculum. What are the books being used? You have every right, and that's what parents have to do. You need to get in there and be the advocate for your child. This is just the world we live in. None of it's easy, time consuming, but it's about our precious kids. So with that, everybody have a great weekend. Thanks for being with us. I'm going to jump on over the weekend. We have a lot of things going on. We have a great study from the HEAT Initiative I want to share and how you can get your own toolkit and use that. Also, we have tremendous success. FTC, Federal Trade Commission, with Pornhub, a success there. So tomorrow I'm going to try to jump back on and give you some of these very hopeful things that are happening, because you have to know with everything I tell you that's negative, there's so much good and there's so much hope. So thank you for being a warrior. Have a great weekend, but I'll be back over the weekend, so stay tuned. Thanks, everybody.